the colonial reserve system. During and immediately after World War II, the British and French empires required their colonies to sell raw materials, cocoa, cotton, timber, gold, copper, palm oil, directly to the imperial power. These sales generated huge revenues for the colonies. But here is the extreme injustice. The money earned by the colonies was not given to them in hard currency. Instead, it was legally required to be converted into sterling balances in London or franc balances in Paris, deposited into blocked accounts at the central banks. In effect, the colonies were forced to deposit their earnings with the British and French governments. They received paper credit, but they could not freely spend that money to buy essential machinery, build infrastructure, or invest in their own people. This colossal, forced holding of foreign currency essentially acted as a zero-interest loan from the colonies to the mother countries, precisely when Britain and France were facing bankruptcy. Let's look at the British Empire. Nations like Nigeria, the Gold Coast, modern Ghana, and the colonies of East Africa were immensely wealthy in raw materials. Nigeria and the Gold Coast were huge exporters of cocoa, palm products, and groundnuts. During the war and throughout the post-war Reconstruction era, these colonies generated billions in revenue. This revenue was deposited in the UK's sterling balances. By 1945, the total amount of these blocked funds, largely accumulated from the colonies, was staggering. For the UK, these sterling balances were a lifeline. They helped the British government maintain the stability of the pound sterling and, crucially, allowed them to fund their massive war debt and buy essential post-war goods from the United States, thereby financing the foundation of Britain's welfare state and industrial recovery. These blocked accounts were held at the Bank of England, inaccessible to the African people who earned them, until the UK was ready to release them, often years later, and only gradually. This extreme financial policy kept the colonies artificially poor while saving the imperial treasury. A near-identical financial system was utilized by the French in their vast empire across West and Equatorial Africa, the infamous franc zone. Colonies like Senegal, Ivory Coast, and French Equatorial Africa were required to surrender virtually all of their foreign currency earnings to the French treasury in Paris. This money, earned through exports, was converted into French francs and deposited into what were known as operations accounts. This practice was even more restrictive than the British system. It ensured that France, severely weakened by the war, had access to a steady, huge pool of foreign exchange reserves. This money was critical in allowing France to manage its national debt and fund the